Here I am, climbing up, feeling great, getting love. Here I go, risk it all, be worth it now, and that's for sure. Watch me as a Rocketeer.
Alright, here we are, Fight Talk Down Under, episode 9. It's the number 1 podcast on Fight News Australia, and in no large part due to my co-host Lockjaw Justin Van Heerden. How are you, mate?
Good. Episode 9. It's a special number. It's the amount of amateur fights I had before I went pro, so there's some significance there. Maybe I'm just pulling out a random fact just to play on the fact that it's episode 9, but it's episode 9. We're here. We're here for the 9th time.
Yep, we've made it that far, and hopefully we'll be cracking into the professional ranks sometime soon. If there's any potential sponsors out there, then we're all ears.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be anything. Literally, at this point, anything we will be happy with.
Yep, we'll take it. But the outreach is underway. So in all seriousness, if anyone's out there, then let me know. All right, so we're better start off with the local scene. Over the weekend, we, of course, Eternal had their Proving Grounds sort of amateur show on the weekend. So there was a bit to cover off there. I know, Justin, you're the expert on this one. So how did you view that one?
Yeah, it was a good event. So obviously, Proving Grounds is thrown together by Cam O'Neill, by his daughter, Robin O'Neill. So it was another cracker show. They're just gaining momentum. I feel like when you look at these shows, she's got the benefit of having the experience that Cam and Ben Vickers have promoting events that she can rely on, and she's been a part of the process. Like, she's helped them throw events together from the get-go pretty much. So you can definitely tell that it translates and how smoothly it runs, how it's all set up. So obviously the quality of the matchmaking and the quality of the fights. The fights were really good. A few little standouts from the card that kind of stuck out for me. I'll start off with Jesse Murray, who trains at Southside MMA in Logan. He scored a devastating first-round knockout. That took place. It was a featherweight fight that took place. Just pretty well just pressured his opponent up against the cage and just demolished him against the cage, landed some devastating punches and sent him face first in the canvas. So as far as the in the featherweight division for an up-and-coming amateur to keep your eye on, Jesse Murray is definitely someone to look at, and he lived up to his fight name, the Axe Murderer. A little touch there to Vanderlei Silva. So he's someone to watch. Another person who entered the cage after being, it's been a while between fights, and who's a very, very promising young prospect and amateur that's coming up in the scene, is Ty Wall, who trains at Combat Training Center. He fought at welterweight. He also came into this fight. His last fight, I believe, was like 4 or 5 years ago, and he fought a lightweight and was still just kind of, as a young kid getting in there and, showing his talent and doing his thing. But now he's matured a bit. He's a bit older. He's grown into a man now, and the guy put on some size and just, came in, looked in incredible shape, fought at welterweight, looked strong, looked healthy, and got a devastating first-round knockout. It's one of those ones where you were kind of sitting there looking at the guy as he's laying on the ground going, like, that's bad. Like, even the experienced fighters were kind of sitting there with that reaction going like, oh, that's a rough one. So he's another one to look out for. He's I've had the privilege of training with Ty when I was based in Brisbane. He's very talented. He's still early into his sort of amateur career, but the dude's got experience and levels above what his record shows, and where he's at, as a fighter, being an amateur, and trains with absolute guns down at Combat Training Center. The next fight that obviously stood out, we spoke about it on the last episode, was my teammate Amina Hedaya fought. She took a fight at a week's notice, taking on Alessandra Inacio, a very experienced jiu-jitsu player, purple belt jiu-jitsu. So obviously, we spoke about it. It was like a striker versus grappler matchup. But Amina was able to go in there and put on an absolute striking clinic for 3 rounds and, do the work on the feet. It was a cracker fight. Both girls came out to scrap. Both girls got cut in the fight. So, there was definitely some violence in there. And ultimately, Amina was able to grind out a pretty good unanimous decision victory just 2 weeks after fighting on DFC. So, 2 weeks, 2 fights, 2 wins, both pretty well dominant performances. So yeah, she's obviously someone to keep an eye on. I'm going to be, hype her up a bit. She is my teammate, but independently, just sort of looking at it as a fan of fighting, she's worth watching. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on and speak about was obviously we didn't see the main event happen, which we spoke about in preview, the fight that I was looking forward to. Jaden Dalrymple pulled out on the day of the fight. He had some personal sort of issues. I think that I haven't quite got the full story yet, but I think there was something that happened in his personal life. And then, the poor kid had like a real bad panic attack, was just completely thrown off by the whole situation. And, so that's unfortunate that fight didn't get thrown together, and hopefully they can sort of, maybe put it together on another show so we can see that matchup happen. Because in the featherweight division, those two boys are two hot prospects, and with all the potential in the world. So, it sucks when you see stuff like that, and when it's something like that where you don't know what happened, you don't have all the details, you don't want to make the mistake of saying something like, the guy pulled out of a fight, blah blah blah. What is that? Blah blah blah. And then it turns out that it's something major. It's obviously a big enough reason, because I know the kid personally. I've known him for years, and he wouldn't just pull out of a fight for no reason. He's pretty game and young and keen. So, and you got to take these opportunities while you can get them. So so I'm interested to see how that all comes together. But there were some great fights. It was a very well put together event. Everything was on point, and everyone that was part of it, all the teams, all the fighters, all the amateurs that went out there and got after it, they put on a show, and it's just a credit to where Australian MMA is at now.
Absolutely, and our thoughts are with Jaden Dalrymple there. We don't know exactly what the nature of the situation is, but hopefully, whatever it is, it's something that he can move past and get back to doing what he does best. Because he's, like you say, he's a really good prospect for Australian MMA. So our thoughts are with Jaden there. And while we're on Eternal, we were sort of chatting about this earlier today. They've sort of off the back of the success of Casey O'Neill and some others there, they're putting out a bit of a drive for for the sort of to fill out their female divisions there. So I don't know, what do you know about that? What can you tell us about what Eternal are trying to put together?
If anything, for me, the first thing I'll say off the bat is it's about time that they start doing that. So I'm stoked that they're doing that. They're trying to drive up from an amateur level all the way to the pro level, and then obviously build a platform to the world stage. They're going to try and increase the women's divisions and try and ignite some more competition and stack their divisions and build their roster a bit more. So obviously they said that they were going to be looking to bring people in from Japan, Thailand, New Zealand, some overseas sort of fighters to give them opportunities to come to Australia to fight on Eternal, which, as you've seen now, it's a locked-in pathway to get to those top levels and excel in the sport. We've got a number of people that are already in the UFC now. You got your Jack Daly, you got Casey O'Neill, you got these people, Jacob Malkoon. You got these people that are in the UFC now, and then you've got these other people that are coming up now, like we're going to touch on. Obviously we spoke about Stephen Erceg. You got people that are now getting these Contender Series call-ups, and a lot of these people made their runs and had some of their standout performances locally on Eternal. So it's dope that they're doing that. So they're going to be able to give, and for Australian athletes and Australian fighters, like I was actually talking to Jamie Edenden about this earlier today. She's a featherweight, obviously here based in Australia. She's pro, but matchups are few and far between. I'm pretty sure she's got an upcoming matchup in May on Eternal, and if she's to beat this opponent, beat this girl that she's about to fight, she's really got like maybe 2 other people locally that she can fight here in Australia, and then it's kind of like, and then you're looking at a rematch again, or a few rematches or whatever it may be. So if they can bring someone from New Zealand or bring people from Japan or bring people from Thailand and, kind of opens those doors a bit, it's going to benefit those athletes because they're going to fight on a promotion, Australia's biggest promotion, but also the Australian athletes are going to get the benefit of fighting some other competition they wouldn't have gotten to fight otherwise, So it's a win-win, I think. It's a smart move. And, it's a smart move for their brand as well. You're trying to build off the fact that you're now the most attended, most bought show in Australia, and you're becoming the biggest promotion in Australia, or you are the biggest promotion in Australia. So you've got to pick up and, do that in every avenue that you can do. So I think it's a smart move.
Exactly, it's exciting to think that they're looking to bring in some overseas talent as well. Like, I think the ultimate dream is that Eternal would become like the KSW of this, of this region. Like KSW is one of those sort of maybe second or third tier promotions that's sort of pretty big in Poland and in that part of the world. So I think the idea is that Eternal could be that for this region. So yeah, it's exciting to think that there might be some international talent and an even bigger sort of show, like stage for Australian talent to be showcased.
Yeah, 100%. And it's only going to get bigger and better now. There's eyes on this region across the board. Dana said something the other day about it, talking about the talent of athletes from the Oceanic region, how much it's risen, how much it's just getting better and better. And the people that are currently fighting in the UFC are setting that example. Tai Tuivasa's on the cusp of a title shot. You got Kai Kara France on the cusp of a title shot. Casey O'Neill's on a massive win streak in the UFC, making her way towards Valentina's throne. You got Volko defending his belt again. You've got people like
Jack
Brad
Bella.
Riddell. You've got people like Adesanya. You've got all these people that are just in this region that are going out there putting on a show. Regardless of the outcome of the fights, they're putting on a show and showing what athletes are capable of. So it's going to just get bigger and better, and these opportunities are just going to keep coming our way, I think.
Yeah, and speaking of these opportunities, announced earlier this week was the Turkish Delight, Shannon Ross, a former Eternal Flyweight champion, is obviously withdrawn from his title fight with Sean Etchell, and he's gotten the call up for Dana White's Contender Series. So I actually spoke to Shannon earlier tonight. That one will come out this week as well, and so there's just another Aussie to add to the ranks is going to have an opportunity to make his mark in the UFC as well. So yeah, that's an exciting one for us too.
Yeah, Shannon's and like we always talk about, man, he's one of the good guys. He's one of the likable people in the sport. You can't help but look at Shannon and be like, man, I just want to see this guy do well. And I think a lot of people might agree. This call up for him, it's excellent news. But there's a time, like maybe not that long ago, where it's like you'd be standing around going like, why didn't it happen then already? Like the guy was, he's just been killing it for a while, and it's kind of, I know the flyweight division in the UFC's had its kind of like bumps and up and downs, and it was kind of uncertainty across the board. Was it staying? Was it going? But you look at it now, it's probably one of the hottest divisions in the UFC to watch. So I feel like, yeah, this is going to be a good opportunity now for Shannon to get out there, take it with both hands and go and secure himself a UFC contract and change his and his family's life. He's a dad as well. Family man, he's just a genuinely good dude and sacrifices a lot to do what he does. So I really want to see him go out there and kill it and get this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Can confirm he is a great guy, and obviously keep your eyes peeled to the Fight News Australia YouTube channel. That chat will be up very soon. But he told me, I won't give away too much about the interview, but he did tell me he had met with Mick Maynard back in 2019. With a view to a UFC opportunity, but then obviously the flyweight division was sort of on shaky ground for a little while. COVID came in, and obviously Australia became
bloody COVID.
One of the most draconian countries to live in through all the the closed borders and the international restrictions and things like that, which really scuppered opportunities for a lot of fighters. I know Rob Wilkinson, I believe, was pretty close to signing with Bellator before all that kicked off. So there was quite a few guys that were sort of on the cusp that sort of missed out at the time. But it's a good thing that obviously Rob Wilkinson has found his way to PFL, and now Shannon Ross has got himself a Dana White's Contender Series opportunity. So it all works out in the end. But it better late than never.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Didn't it ever? COVID just stopped a bunch of these opportunities from happening for certain people. Obviously, like you just touched on there. So, it's good that Shannon's now got, he's been given that opportunity. So he's going to be on Contender Series, joining Stephen Osig, trying to get opportunity to go out there and get a contract. Hopefully they don't make the two blokes fight each other, because that'd be shit. But it'd be interesting to see. So I feel like with where he's at mentally now, I think as well, he's had his time in the game, he's got experience. he's comfortable there now. So I think, all in all, in hindsight, it's probably worked out to come at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that would be terrible if they made him fight Steve Erceg on the Contender series. But hopefully they get independent matchups. He said he's got a date and an opponent, but he wouldn't divulge it in the interview. But it looks like it's going to be sort of around July, August, somewhere around there. I don't know where Erceg is earmarked for, but hopefully separate matchups there.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of the UFC, anyway, we've got this weekend. We've got UFC 273. It's obviously a huge card, and it's one that's close to our hearts here in Australia. We've got Alexander Volkanovski in the main event against the Korean Zombie. Obviously, you're going to have a whole lot of a whole lot to say about this one, given that you've been a key part of Volk's camp. But before we get to the main event, there's a few fun ones on there. It's a pretty stacked card, so we may as well just cover them off. We've got probably the first one is one that we've been sort of chatting about a little bit today. It's Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns. Obviously, Khamzat's been on a tear since he joined the UFC. There's the hype is just building by the day on this guy. But Gilbert Burns, former title challenger, coming off a win over Wonderboy Thompson. So a step up in class for Khamzat, that's for sure. His last couple of fights were Li Jingliang, and the other one was Gerald Meerschaert. So Gilbert Burns is certainly a step up in class, but how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, Gilbert Burns is a savage. The guy's experience, he's fought the who's who. You look at the quality of opponents that he's fought, and even the fights that he's lost, you're gonna rise from that. You're gonna absorb, all that experience, and you're gonna get better from it. He put Kamaru on ice skates in that fight. He was that close to winning a world title, and then obviously Kamaru adjusted like a champion and came back and won. But Gilbert's going to rise from that. He even touched on the fact that Kamaru came and helped him out in this camp for a few days. So, he's going to come in primed and ready to shut the hype down that comes along with someone like Khamzat. But I see Khamzat coming out here and absolutely demolishing Gilbert. If you look at the odds, he's a ridiculous favorite for a reason. Like, you can't. I'm all in. I'm all in on Khamzat. I'm all in on Team Khamzat. And I feel like I'm inclined to agree with Volko on this one. He touched on this. I think he's going to come out there and put on an amazing performance and shut Gilbert down completely. And we're going to be talking about this dude fighting potentially someone like Covington to secure himself a title shot, or just straight up fighting for the winner of Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. I am lucky enough that I have some inside information from the camp of Khamzat Chimaev himself. And I'm being told everyone, if they were smart and they were going to bet on this fight, put your money on a round 2 submission. I believe that's the outcome that they're putting forward, because I believe Gilbert's going to be able to be competitive in the first round. He might be able to utilize his jiu-jitsu when he does get taken down, because he is going to get taken down. He might be able to use his jiu-jitsu well enough to survive. He is a world champion. We've got to respect the guy's jiu-jitsu. I think Khamzat's going to take the striking out of it completely. He's going to take him down and just start wearing on him. But I feel like Gilbert's ultimately going to be able to survive the first round. I think he's going to cop some damage, but he's going to be able to use his jiu-jitsu and his own grappling pedigree to kind of survive. But then I feel like the pace that Khamzat sets, he's just going to crumble. And then round 2, we're going to see Khamzat take him right down and put him away.
There you go. You heard it here first. There's the spoiler alert. But wouldn't that be a feather in Khamzat's cap there if he could tap someone like Gilbert Burns? That would just be huge. And I guess we haven't had any reason to doubt him really so far. So there's no reason to doubt that's gonna happen. But that would be huge if he was to take someone like Gilbert Burns out by submission, and we know the pace that he puts on is just relentless, and the cardio has maybe been a little bit of an issue for Gilbert Burns at times. So that's it kind of stands to reason. So there you go. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's going to be if Gilbert lands, he's obviously got power and he can put people away. But I mean, you look at the way that Khamzat enters into these takedowns and the way he shoots and his timing and everything like that, he ain't getting touched. He ain't getting hit. I mean, the guy's been hit 4 times in the UFC so far, something like that. 121, once, 121 strikes landed to barely being touched. So I don't think Gilbert's going to be able to touch him. I feel like he's going to be smart enough and safe enough to avoid that and then take him down and do what he does.
There you go. And the co-main event for this one is Aljamain Sterling, who's now been the reigning champion for over a year. I think that set social media on fire there. That his title reign has topped a year. Obviously, he won the title in controversial circumstances with the illegal knee from Petr, but he gets the rematch that he probably wanted to avoid, if we're being honest. But I guess in the first fight, Petr was probably running away with it. To be honest, I think Aljamain Sterling would probably tell you a little bit differently. But for most people that were watching, you could see that it was probably heading towards an inevitable conclusion. Do you see this one playing out any differently?
I don't know. Like, it's a weird one because I feel like Petr going to be able to just come out and do what he did in the first fight, but I don't know. Aljamain looks like he's in ridiculous shape, and obviously he had that surgery and everything like that. So who knows? Maybe the guy's going to come out there and put on a performance similar to when he fought Corey Sandhagen. Just come out there and completely run through Petr. Tough task. Petr's probably, shown that he's one of the most dangerous fighters in the world, so it's going to probably be a difficult thing for him. And look at that first fight, I believe he took Aljamain down more than he got taken down, so there's that factored in as well. At the end of the day, I know, we talk about Petr Yan's boxing and how good his striking is and his range control and his ability to pressure people and make them wilt, but he's Russian, he's going to be able to wrestle. The guy can wrestle. So it's an interesting fight. Obviously they're both in shape, they're both they're both talented. Obviously, I know everyone's like harping on Allmate because of the way the first fight went, and about how he acted and that. Like, look, end of the day, Allmate needed him when he was grounded. It's an illegal shot. Like, that's your problem. That's your fault. Okay, the fact that Aljamain was hurt by the shot that couldn't continue, but then was kind of like standing up, and then all of a sudden he was fine, and he's like shaking his head being like, oh, I don't want to win the belt like that. But then the very next day he's like, I'm the champion, fuck this guy, blah 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 blah. And it's all just like a weird snenario.
I think that was what did him in the end. I think people gave him the benefit of the doubt initially, but once he started posing with the belt on social media and stuff, then I think he ruined it for himself.
Either just ride it out and be like, okay, well, I won the belt, but this isn't how I'd like to win. Can we set up the rematch so I can get this one back and try and do it properly? Or just be like, just embrace the fact that you're like, I'm the champ, fuck you, you broke the rules, whatever. And just kind of be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, I won the belt, I'm the champ. But yeah, I think it's gonna be an interesting fight. I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna go to a decision. I don't see either guy getting a finish, but it's just going to depend on, can Aljamain put a clinic on with his grappling and wilt Petr enough that he can just grind out a decision that way, or is Petr just going to walk him down and beat the shit out of him until ultimately the fight ends and he just wins a unanimous decision via just violent striking? I don't think that's the outcome. It's going to be a decision win, and then unfortunately we're going to be talking about this fight again when they book it for the third time.
Yeah, exactly. I guess there's a trilogy match is in order, isn't it? If Petr wins, but I think kind of like you touched on there, there's a lot of question marks with Aljamain Sterling. I mean, the internet's had a lot of fun at his expense with the whole scene with the illegal knee and all the sort of crap that's gone on since then. But he is capable, isn't he? On like you said, on his day, he can probably beat anyone. He's as skilled as anyone in the world. But with that neck issue, the surgery that he's had, it's a big question mark. Like how is that going to affect him? How has he recovered from the surgery? Has he had enough time to sort of recover and get himself in shape and whatever? We don't know. He looks it on social media, but I think most fighters look pretty good on social media. But it's definitely I don't know. I think that's the thing about Aljo. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what you're getting on fight night. So it'll be. Yeah, well, if the best version of Aljo turns up on the night, then it's going to be interesting to see if he can take it to Petr, because he's been, he's been pretty unshakable so far in his UFC tenure.
Yeah, 100%. Petr's a scary matchup. He's a scary fighter. His conditioning is ridiculous. His pressure is ridiculous. His striking and distance and range understanding is just next level. The dude hits like a truck. Obviously, you see him hit people and hurt him. So yeah, it's not a good matchup to just come in and not be 100% ready for. So I'm expecting that we're going to see a different fight, but at the same time, I'm expecting that the fight is going to be much the same in the sense that if Aljamain can't take him down and keep him down, Jan's going to do his thing, and we're going to see a repeat of the last fight.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. But following that, obviously the main event, UFC featherweight title, is Alexander Volkanovski. He's obviously the reigning champion. He's taking on Chan Sung Jung, the Korean zombie. It's I guess it's not the matchup that everyone was hoping for. Like I think there's been a lot of talk about another Holloway fight, but Zombie's he's a real contender. Like, he's not someone that you can overlook. I think he's 36 years old now. He's been in plenty of wars, but this guy knows how to fight. So how do you? I guess give us your breakdown first on Volkanovski versus Zombie.
Yeah, it's a good fight. They went with the next best ranked challenger for Volk after the Holloway fight fell through. Real quick, Holloway, I'm better at you. I'm better than you at Apex Legends. Stop whinging every time I kill you when we're playing. Stop talking about being in diamond lobbies, okay? That doesn't mean anything. Stop whinging, okay? Just play the game, be good at it, get better. You're meant to be the Blessed Express and good at all these things, but you suck at Apex Legends. Stop whinging.
There you go.
Anyway, back to the fight. So Zombies, he's a legend of the game. The dude, he lost some years there of his fight career when he had to do his mandatory service, in the military and stuff like that. And he came back and he's had some cracking performances, and then he's had some other fights that were a bit iffy. But I think I saw something today that the guy hasn't had a 3-round fight since like 2010 or 2011 or something like that. He's just been consecutively in like 9 or 10 5-round fights. Like, the guy's just been, in these crazy fights. So
that's a crazy stat.
Yeah, he's a legend of the game. Obviously, the guy's fought bloody everybody. And he's dangerous. He's experienced. He's dangerous. He's not that young man in the game anymore that we saw before his break from the sport. He's like he's a dangerous individual that's very experienced, and he's going to come into this fight. He's going to be primed. He's going to be ready. But unfortunately, he's fighting the best featherweight in the world, who is just on an absolute tear and just getting better and better and better. Obviously, it's no secret I train with Volko, so I get to see on the daily what he does and the work that he does, and how good he is and stuff like that. But yeah, stylistically, in like looking at it like this, stylistically as a fan of fighting, and just someone that's a fan of the sport, Zombie stands very heavy on his front leg, and tries to walk people down and live up to his name, Zombie. The fact that he can take shots, and he keeps coming, and he's shown many times that he's got power in his punches, and if he lands, he can put people away, and he can dish it out, and he can take it. But against Volko, that's just a horrible way to approach the fight. You can't just stand in front of Volko and walk forward and try and I'm gonna out tough you. That's like, everyone's tough. It's MMA. It's fighting. Like, everyone's tough. I feel like people are gonna be surprised by how much better Volko is gonna look in this fight compared to his last fight, and how much he's improved. He's hitting harder. He's moving faster. He's more explosive. The guy's just levels better than what he was. And I feel like he's one of those special individuals that, similar to like Kamaru Usman, similar to Adesanya, that you see every time you see them, they're just better and better and better and better. And you keep asking yourself, well, how's that possible? You're already at the top of the heap. You're the person that everyone's chasing, but that's what makes them special. That's why they're the best in the world, and that's why they're going to continue to be the best in the world, because they continue to work the same way and improve. Seeing the work that he put in the camp, and he's the hardest worker by far that I've ever been around in any sport capacity. I've competed in many different sports, a lot of different sports at higher levels and stuff like that. I've seen professional athletes across the board. You know, when I was working as a journalist covering sport, I was around professional athletes all the time. I've never seen anyone that can work as hard as this dude. It's ridiculous. So, you know, he gets in there, he puts in the work, and treats it like he's still that guy that's chasing everyone else. If you know that, if that makes sense. Like he's got that contender worker mindset, even though he's the champion. And I feel like that's why he's a special talent and why he's going to go out there and put on a cracking performance and put Zombie away within 3 rounds. He's going to put him away and do it violently, I'd say. I feel like Zombie's going to be able to be, you know, competitive and take some damage for like maybe the first couple minutes, but then after that, he's just going to get bashed. He's going to get picked apart. Volk's IQ is too good. His understanding of distance is too good. His ability to adjust on the fly, just on his own sort of fight IQ and experience is second to none. And then obviously you throw in the fact that he's got Joe in his corner. You know, he's working alongside people like Eugene Behrman. He's got Brad Riddell with him in his corner. He's got Craig Jones with him. You know, he's got all these other great minds when it comes to combat sport that are facilitating his ability and taking the vehicle that is Alex Volkanovski and directing it towards a certain goal. And it's just going to be, you know, the outcome is just going to be that way. He's going to win. He's going to add another ruby to the belt. He's going to defend his title. It's coming back to Australia. And unfortunately, Korean Zombie is going to be the nail in that equation.
Yeah, it's kind of a scary prospect that you know, the Volkanovski, you know, the UFC champion at 33 years old, is still getting better, you know, as time goes by. But yeah, I was going to bring that up. You mentioned, you know, he's probably going to you're sort of picking a stoppage in this one. I was going to bring that up because Volkanovski's gone to decision in his last 4 fights, but the matchup on paper, it seems to lend itself to maybe a stoppage here because, like, Zombie's obviously a forward fighter. Like you said, he's heavy on that front leg. He's what Teddy Atlas would call an available fighter. You don't have to really go looking for him. He's right there in your face. So, you know, there could be a chance of a stoppage here. I think it's probably worth a little flutter since we're giving betting predictions now here on Fight Talk Down Under. Could be worth a little flutter on a stoppage there because Volkanovski's certainly got that in his locker. He's just you know, he's been matched with guys like Jose Aldo and yeah, Max Holloway and Brian Ortega, who are pretty difficult people to put away. That's the cream of the crop right there. So, you know, and I guess with that in mind, having fought those 3 in his last 4 fights, you know, do you see anything really that Zombie brings to the table that you know, Volkanovski hasn't seen before?
Nah, and I don't care that he's training with Henry Cejudo and doing all this sort of stuff. And I was watching the Embedded today, and you got Henry Cejudo talking out of pocket, saying shit like, "Oh, if you look at Volkanovski, it doesn't seem like he has power in his hands and stuff. All right, you go stand in front of him and get hit by him." I'll tell you one thing in this camp. Volk was collecting bodies in this camp. Okay, the man is dangerous, and if Staunch Volk comes out and you get cracked by that man and the power that he has, you're gonna know about it. I can tell you, there's a lineup of people that can tell you that were experiencing that, so he could prepare for Zombie. And like you said, Zombie's available. He's going to be there. He's going to be standing in front of him. And if Volk connects, it's going to be a problem. And I mean, you look at the fight with Ortega. Let's all be honest. That fight should have been stopped in the end of the 3rd round. That fight's over. You can't get to your stool. You get picked up, put on your stool. I don't care what anyone says. The fight can't continue. You're done. You're laying on your back, making no effort to get up until you get physically picked up. That's physical surrender to me. I know you yourself, because Brian Ortega's a tough guy. He's a Mexican. He's a Mexican fighter. You know, they're known for not quitting. He's not going to physically himself say, "I'm done. I don't want to fight anymore." But at that point, the doctor, the ref, the team, somebody needs to be like, "Oh, this fight's done." Like the guy's finished. And I know, okay, the fight got to continue, and we got to see a great fight. And the last 2 rounds were great. Obviously, Brian in the 5th round decided to come back and walk him down. But in my money, Volk's coming off a finish, and he's about to get another one. And like, obviously, we've been talking about it throughout our episodes, and that, you know, like we had the guys from City Kickboxing in briefly. We've had, you know, it's all these talented individuals that have been involved in the camp again. You've got the best fighters in the country coming in and being part of this camp, training alongside the best featherweight in the world, the best featherweight in the country, and one of the best mixed martial artists on planet Earth, just point blank. So, you're going to expect that everyone's going to be a part of this experience, is going to build and rise. And not only that, it keeps the champ on his toes. He's getting in there and improving. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. He's improving and getting better across the board. You can just see it. This guy will be like 8 rounds into sparring, and it's like his 9th round, and you're getting in there with him, and you're like, okay, well, he's done 8 rounds. He's going to be tired. Like, you're Shark Tanking the dude. He hasn't had a break. You're like, nah, he's gonna be tired. Let's go. Like, I can start doing some stuff. And then he just still is even stronger than when he was in the first rounds. He's stopping everything. He's not getting. You can't hit him. He's not there when you're going. You're trying to take him down. You can't take him down. And you're thinking, like, how's this possible? This guy must be needs to be wrecked. And that's like, I'm talking like 5-minute rounds with some of the best people in the country. Like, he's just getting after it. So 25 minutes against someone who is going to be standing in front of him, who doesn't really offer anything different or crazy, and doesn't, like, I'll call it what it is. Zombie's got some jits, but his wrestling sucks. He's very hittable, and all those things are just going to factor in against him when he steps in there with Volk. As everyone knows, like, I love wrestling and I love grappling, and that's sort of my sharp tool that's in my back pocket. Save that for whenever I need to use it. But man, I get so frustrated when, like, this guy's doing, like, some of these things where he's meant to be tired. He's meant to be, like, meant to be wrecked, meant to be the one that's, just getting a fresh person on him, getting Shark Tank, getting, like, all these things happening. And I'm coming in there going full bull, trying to take this guy down, put him on his back, or trying to control him or something like that. And you just can't do it. You're sitting there going, what the fuck is going on? Like, how is he so strong? How is he so fresh? How is he able to just adjust? And it just comes back to the work that the dude puts in. He's a workhorse like nothing else. And then on top of that, you throw in the fact that he just happens to be the best fighter in his division, and one of the best fighters on planet Earth. And that all factors together, and it's going to make for a pretty shitty deal to get in there and stand across from that dude, and even, like, people are talking about, some of these other matchups that are coming up for the dude. Like, there's a reason that these guys are going to continue to fall, because, like, you just look at it, the separation just keeps going like this. It's not like Volko's here and everyone else is here and then they're trying to, like, catch up. It's like he's here, they're down here, but he's still marginally every day just going, and the gap's just separating. The levels are just separating. It's like, and you give Max Holloway, you got to give Max Holloway credit. That dude's levels above people as well. But, for my money, Volk's levels above that again. And I feel like if they fight again for the 3rd time, that's going to get shown. He's going to get shown again. And that's the crazy part. It comes back to someone like, if I were to equate it and compare it comes back to, like, Kobe Bryant, right? Everyone talks about the work rate that Kobe Bryant had, the mindset that guy had, and that, the work that he does and continues to do. Like, when all his teammates and all these people were, like, out partying and doing all these other things, that guy's in the gym working. They'd show up for practice. That guy had already made like 3,000 free throws and was just already there training for hours. And then he'd go into the gym and train with the team, and then they'd be on the court and he'd do their practice. Volk's very similar with that. The guy's just working. And then, like, it doesn't matter if he's in camp, out of camp, the guy's training, he's working hard, and he's just ready for anything. You throw it at his way, he's going to come out there and he's going to do it. He's like the only person I know that would be out of camp, get excited about us boys being in camp and the sessions that we're doing, some of these harder sessions and some of these crazier workouts that we're doing, and then he'll just jump in for fun and be like, oh, Joe, throw me in there, I'll do one. And he's getting in there doing like a meat grinder or something just for fun. Like, he's a nutcase. Like, who does that? I can tell you, if Joe's like, Justin, you're doing that today, I'm doing it, like, I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to willingly put my hand up just for the fun of it and be like, oh yeah, I'll do one just for fun. Unless it's like, I've had a really, really good week in other capacity. I'm full of some cheap foods and some chocolate and some stuff like that. And I'm feeling like I need to do that extra bit of work. But yeah, the guy's obsession and work ethic is what sets him apart. Like, fight IQ, experience, just pure talent, because he is a talented individual. That all aside, the guy's just, He's just the same guy that he's always been. I remember watching him fight on the local scene, fighting guys like Anton Zafir, fighting guys, like Rodolfo Marquez, Jai Bradney, these guys that were like the cream of the crop here in Australia, and just running through them. And then, you can see why. You can see why he was able to do it then, and you can see why he's continuing to do that now, because he's the same person. He hasn't changed. He's a family man. He's a guy that loves this country, loves being the champion, loves the belt, loves the fact that he's, able to put this region, New South Wales, the Illawarra, like put it on out there for the world to see. He's obviously a proud dad, and stuff like that, a family man. And that's what he is. He's just a hard-working family man. Everyone talks about what he, because he used to be a concreter back in the day before he became the UFC, featherweight champion. It's like he's taken that same work ethic and mindset and he's just applied it to this and gone, okay, nothing's really changed. And if you're around the guy, unless you know who, he's the featherweight champion, like because you follow the sport or whatever, like unless you're kind of like, if you're just hanging around with the guy, you just know that he's like one of the greatest athletes on planet Earth. You just be hanging out with this dude being like, man, this guy's just a legend of a bloke. And then come to find out he's one of the most talented individuals that you have involved in this sport and just in sports in general. So I feel like if he goes out there and finishes Zombie, that's gonna just do wonders for him, because it's one of the legends of the game, and if he's able to put him away, that's gonna win some people over, because I don't think there's anyone that follows this sport, whether they're a casual fan of the sport or hardly invested into it like I am. Everyone knows who the Korean Zombie is, and everyone likes the Korean Zombie. Like, I like the dude. I feel like Zombie's one of the coolest people that's involved in the sport and one of the most likable people in the sport, but he's still going to get bashed. And we're talking about bets and making bets. I'm all in on this, obviously. I'm all in on my teammate. I've chucked my bet down. I'm going for a round 2 finish, TKO or KO in round 2. That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling within 3 rounds. We're going to see Volko put him away. So, I had a chat with Volko before he left. I was like, all right, okay, if it's the first round and it's towards the end of the first round and you're bashing him and he's nearly done, just do me a favor and just hold off for that little bit if you can. Obviously, put him away, win the fight, defend your belt. But if you got Herb Dean there and he's going to let it continue like he did in the Ortega fight, and if you want to put him away in round 2, that's gonna benefit me as well.
Absolutely, there you go, another betting prediction there. But I guess Volkanovski is the sort of the the blue collar athlete. It's something that's it's kind of easy to get behind. That's sort of he's sort of this affable character. But I think for that reason he's also been sort of criminally underrated. Really, like I know now since he beat Ortega, he's been sort of starting to get his his plaudits. But really before that, like you mentioned there, Henry Cejudo was sort of saying that he doesn't look like he has much power and stuff like that. And I guess Volk he's kind of short in stature, and what he does in the cage, it's kind of it kind of looks relatively simple, right? It's sort of to the untrained eye, what he does just seems kind of simple, and it seems like he's kind of sort of point fighting a little bit, but really when you understand what you're looking at, what he does is the little subtleties that he has in his game is really quite fascinating, and I think people are just starting to realize that now. But even when he beat Max Holloway, people were just like, people still didn't really kind of give him his just desserts, but now he's starting to get it. And as someone who sees all that day in day out, you can obviously speak to the technical prowess that he possesses as well.
Man, and that's the thing. I'd encourage people to go watch the fights. Go watch the Holloway fights. Do yourself a favor, mute the commentary, and go watch the fights back. Go watch both fights. And then, first fight, there's no argument, no question. You go watch the first fight. He just put on a clinic, Really watch the fight back. Like you can't, you watch the fight live when it's happening and there's so much emotion and stuff is in the air. You go back and watch some of these fights like after the fact, mute the commentary, watch the fight, just take the fight for what it is, and you're gonna realize like, holy crap, you're gonna see things. Like even the other day, I rewatched the first fight and the second fight, and in both fights, I picked out some things that I didn't notice the first couple times I watched it. Like the first fight, for example, Volk's that comfortable in there with arguably at that time the best featherweight ever, the GOAT of the featherweight division, and he's just putting on a show, put on a clinic, outlanding him, demolishing his legs. I think he set a record for low kicks in a featherweight fight, or for leg kicks landed. But the fact that here's some people who didn't realize when they were watching that fight, Volk's talking to Max the whole time he's fighting him. Who does that? Who walks into a fight with Max Holloway, matches him and outpaces him and outstrikes him, and is talking to him the whole time he's fighting him? No one. Outside of maybe, I don't know, maybe Conor McGregor jabbed it to him a little bit, but when they were fighting, but Volk was talking to him the whole time. And that shows you how comfortable he is. That shows you how at that, like how many levels above someone you have to be, that you have to be comfortable enough to do that in a high stakes title fight. And then you go to the second fight, right? Okay, watch the fight back, do the same thing, mute the commentary, and you're going to see he's levels better in that fight again. The first 2 rounds, yeah, Max Holloway did what Max Holloway does, and he was able to find his success. But in round 3, yeah, it's a close round. But if you're breaking it down and you're looking at the fight and you're actually paying attention to what's playing out in front of you as it is, and not listening to commentary and not being distracted by anything else around you, you're actually just watching the fight, you'll see that Volk takes over the fight in that third round, and then rounds 4 and 5 shows his championship medal, shows his experience, and then comes out and wins that fight. Again, a close fight. It's a similar scenario as Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. The fights, I feel like those fights are always going to be close. But the other part of me is like looking at where Volk's at now and how he just keeps getting better and improving, and seeing him on the daily and how much better he gets and how good he is. I feel like the third fight's going to be a shutout completely. I feel like Volko is going to dominate. And that comes back to his technical prowess, like you were saying. Like, the guy's understanding of this sport, of this game that is fighting, is levels above. I talk about it all the time that we'll finish a training session. Anyone else would just take their shit, go home and go relax and get ready for the next one. That bloke will just stay there and hang out and break things down. You ask him 56 questions and he's going to like stay there and answer them all for you and break it all down for you, with some of the best demonstrations I've ever seen an individual do by themselves. Like, if you're having trouble with a takedown and you're like, hey Volk, what do I do with this? He will literally use himself as a dummy and show you what to do for the technique that you're asking for. And it's some of the best shit I've ever seen. Like, it doesn't matter where it takes place. You could be outside and there's concrete. The guy will literally throw himself around and be showing the most in-depth demonstration I've ever seen, just to make sure that you're understanding what's happening and breaking it down for you, because he understands it so well and his knowledge of the game is so high. And that's the thing, like you said before, when you watch these fights, if you're not really, you don't really have like a deep understanding of what's happening, it looks like it's just simple what he's doing. But that's the thing. It is simple for him because he's levels above these people. His understanding of distance, his fight IQ, his ability, how he feints and how he does. He's got like 15 different answers for one thing that you do, and the ability to make a read and go, okay. And if you adjust, you move a centimeter, he moves a centimeter, like instantly. Like he's just already, he's analyzed everything. His peripheral vision and his ability to see things coming is just, it's disgusting how good it is. It's like, it's so frustrating when you're sparring this guy and you're like, he'll break something down for you and you're like, I'm going to start using that. And you find success using it. And then you get in there with him and you go to use it. And then he's got 17 different answers for that one thing that you're trying to do. And then you're like, okay, I'll switch up and do something else. I think I've told the story about when I first moved down to freestyle. And like the first session I came in for was a sparring session. I walked in, we're sparring. It's the first time I'm sparring Volko. Doing we're doing 5-minute rounds, get in there, we're sparring, we're getting after it. And then obviously he's never sparred me, I've never sparred him. So there was a couple of little things that I was able to do, and I was kind of like was able to like have a little tiny bit of success with. And then the round ends, he does a round with someone else. I come back maybe like the next round or the round after, I go to spar him again. And I couldn't do a fucking thing. He had an answer for everything that I that I was doing, everything that I like to do. I even then just reset and was like, all right, I'm a fucking wrestler. I know I can do that. I can do that with anyone. And yeah, nothing, So that just comes to that. The guy's just. It's easy for me to sit here and hype him up because he's my teammate, but as I said, I've been following along. I'm one of those people that watches everything. I follow the local scene. I follow across the board. I follow the sport, and I'm privileged enough to have seen Volko fight from way back in the day when he was here on the local circuit to now fighting in the UFC, and it's now I have the privilege of training alongside him every single day. I'm just I'm gonna hype the man up as much as I can because, like you said, I feel like he's so underrated and people just underappreciated. I think that I'm hoping that he can go out there and start Zombie, get a finish, and then if they do this third fight with Max, I hope that he just goes out there, puts on a clinic, and absolutely just puts on a shutout performance. Like I'm talking Kamaru Usman versus Tyron Woodley for the belt type performance where it's so one-sided. You kind of just go, ooh, did that guy even need to be in there with him? Like that's pretty rough. Like that's what I want to see, so that people finally turn around and go, holy shit, we are watching one of the best fighters of our generation do his thing. Like let's start appreciating the guy. And everyone in New South Wales and in Sydney and the surrounds, if you are strapped for a place to watch the fight, head on down to Wollongong, come to the Volkanovski Hotel and watch the man defend his belt this Sunday. That's something that you can do. You can get on a train, get in a car, hire a helicopter, charter a plane, steal a boat. I don't know what you need to do, but you can go to a hotel that's named after the man himself and watch him defend his belt.
What a place to watch the fight that would be. But I guess you mentioned there, one of the best fighters of his generation. Where does a win? Like people are starting to talk about Alex now, finally, in sort of the conversation of like the all-time best featherweights, and hopefully in turn that will become all-time best mixed martial artist. But where does a win over Zombie? It would be his third title defense. So where would that leave him in that sort of all-time conversation, all-time featherweights, all-time pound for pound or whatever crap people go on about?
Yeah, it separates you from people because now you've beaten Aldo, you've beaten the Korean Zombie, you've beaten Ortega, you've beaten Holloway twice, and you're going to definitely have to fight him a third time. And if you're going to beat him a third time, and then you've shut him out of the conversation completely. So then I feel like that's what needs to happen. I feel like you got this legacy fight with Korean Zombie, which is a big name to have on your record and a box to check off, and then you go handle the business to sort of eliminate Max from the equation, and then that's it. It's a wrap, and then you just keep defending the belt, you keep putting away these people, and then it's gonna eventually it's gonna not be a question anymore because there's two factors that I always look at. You look at Aldo, how many times he defended the belt, and how his reign as the featherweight champion. And then obviously you look at the fact that Max came over and was able to just shut him down and just run through people. And then, he beat him and that kind of like cemented himself as almost the featherweight GOAT in that capacity. Volk came along, took the belt off him. Volk defended the belt against him. He defended the belt against Ortega. He's defending the belt now against Zombie. As long as he just keeps doing what he does, defends his belt, racks up these wins, gets another win over Max Holloway, that for sure cements it. He could defend his belt against every single person that they want now moving forward. But I feel like the hardcore people in the sport aren't going to be like, oh, he's the featherweight GOAT until he beats Max again. Because, there's a bunch of people that are just going to, that's just how it's going to be. And it's a shit situation to be in because even if he starches Max in round one, just puts him completely out cold, just starches him, people are going to be like, oh, it was a lucky shot. He got caught. He made a mistake. When have we ever seen Max Holloway make mistakes? He's never been finished, blah, 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 blah. Nah, he's not the GOAT. Like, I feel like the conversation is just going to continue. They're going to find reasons to be, upset and frustrated. But, he's going to keep doing his thing. He's pretty vocal about that. He said he was going to reign for a long time, and I certainly believe it. And at the end of the day, Volk's like 33 years old. Like, he's got plenty of time still. As I said, the guy just keeps getting better and better but he's just keeps getting, he's super fit, he's super strong. This guy's just in incredible shape, and it seems like every time he's just getting in better shape. So it's like, I feel like he's still going to be around in this game for a long time and putting on amazing performances for everyone to see. And you've seen the talk that he's had about moving up in weight and challenging for the lightweight title. Certainly something that could happen. He's fought a lightweight before, and he's put on the same performances. At the end of the day, for someone like him to jump from featherweight to lightweight, he's going to slot straight into the competition level there and be able to do his thing and continue to sort of move forward in that capacity. So I feel like people need to watch this fight. If you're a fan of the sport, continue to watch his fights, continue to watch his journey, and pay attention now. Don't be one of those people that sits around years from now and is like sitting at a pub with his friends being like trying to fit into a conversation and just saying generic things like, and then kicking yourself going like, man, I should have just paid attention while this was happening. You have the opportunity to do that right now. You have the opportunity to watch his fights and absorb everything that he's doing. So, yeah.
Is a move to lightweight something that's like genuinely being discussed internally, or is that something that's in his thinking?
In my chats with him, I've asked him about it, and he said he's certainly not kind of gone, oh nah, maybe not. But he's pretty keen. I think he's pretty keen on doing that. He's pretty happy to do that. I think as soon as the fight with Max fell through, I had a conversation with him, and then he was talking about even having like a fight at lightweight just to fill in until Max could be healthy to compete. And then, being the champion of the featherweight division, it's not like he would just get in there and fight some unranked dude. Like they'd throw him straight in against one of these dudes in the top 10 just to, because that's just how it is. That's how it would have to be. And you look at that top 10 at lightweight, there's some cracking fighters in that division. So, but Volko would go out there and do his thing. I don't think he's fazed by it at all. So yeah, he's definitely. I feel like he's definitely going to do that at some point. But something that people need to like appreciate about him too is the fact that he's been real vocal. Like through his run in the UFC, he's real big about earning his spot, earning his title shot, and beating the champion. And then he's wanting these other contenders to do the same. Like you should, not just get a fight based on these other sort of factors. Like you fight everyone that's put in front of you. You get there. Like someone like Arnold Allen, he's doing his work. He's just taking these fights. He's earning his keep and getting there. That's what you want to see. So I feel like Volko would do the same thing at lightweight. He would go in there, fight. If they told him he's got to fight, every person in that top 10 to get to the belt, I know the guy's going to do it. He'll do that. He'll take that challenge and he'll get there and he'll do the same thing. So that's definitely in the cards, I think, for him, based on the chats I've had with him. I think he plans on being the champion, the featherweight champion, eventually challenging for a lightweight title. But for sure, he ain't going anywhere anytime soon. And if you want to become the featherweight champion, that's the man that you have to stand across from, and that's the man you have to deal with. And I don't see anyone coming close at the moment. There's no one in the vicinity that's going to be able to touch that man and touch that belt.
Yeah, so I guess what would it take to beat him? I know you're probably not the right person to ask, since you probably haven't put a fingernail on him yet since you moved to freestyle. But what would it take to beat someone like Alexander Volkanovski? Like we don't have any reason to really doubt him so far. So how on earth does he possibly lose?
The UFC changes its rule set and allows you to have a teammate to fight with him, and then that teammate is Francis Ngannou, and then maybe you got a chance, maybe very small chance. I don't know. Maybe they get Khabib to come out of retirement, and maybe that's a guy that could potentially give him some problems, but maybe. But even then, probably not. I mean, we've seen it in that last fight. Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, grappling doesn't really work on Volko. He's kind of, I don't know, he's got some secret abilities there to be able to shut it down that just doesn't seem to work on him. I know I've certainly tried to choke him and try to do things to him, and motherfucker, I can wrestle and grapple, and I can't get the guy. So Even in this camp, like there's a couple of times where he'd be doing some of these things like his meat grinders and stuff like that, and then there's like little scenarios there where he's like where we're literally I'm sneaking up on him from behind, like when he's least suspecting it. He's like halfway through hitting a combination on the pads, and I'm just tackling him from behind, going 150%, and I still can't do anything and get the guy down or be able to like really like you said, get advantage of anything. So now try and do that when he's standing in front of you and he's fully focused and you're in a fight with a guy and he's 100% on. Good luck. Good luck. I don't see anybody, like I said, across both divisions. It's very hard for me to see someone now that could potentially beat that guy. And the scary part is, like I keep saying, he's only going to get better and better because he continues to just work the same way. And that's just it. You work, you continue to work, you're going to get better. That's the biggest thing I've adopted coming here is just seeing his work rate, seeing his work ethic, seeing his mentality and understanding of it. I don't see other people doing the same thing. They ain't doing the work we're doing. They ain't doing the work they damn sure ain't doing the work he's doing. They damn sure ain't putting in the effort he's putting in. And like Joe Lopez said, this weekend we're cooking some Korean barbecue and it's going to be well done.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, one thing that is also going to be well done is going to be episode 10 of Fight Talk Down Under, in which we're going to be dissecting the Korean barbecue as they call it. We're going to have all the analysis of whatever's going to go down this weekend at UFC 273. So if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Fight News Australia. Keep your eyes peeled to Fight News Australia on YouTube and, of course, on the website for my chat with Shannon Ross, who's obviously going, as we mentioned earlier, to the Dana White's Contender series. And, keep your eyes peeled for Justin Van Heerden in, what have you got coming up?
Yeah, obviously, like we spoke about last week, I'm fighting in May on Eternal. I did find out some information today about the event coming up in May that I don't think I'm allowed to mention yet, but I'm going to try and find out, see if I can drop that on episode 10. But definitely going to be another event to keep your eyes on. Obviously, as I spoke about last week, I'm fighting, I'm back in action. It's been a while since I fought on Eternal, a little while. So I'm excited to get back in there and fight on the biggest promotion in the country and put on another great performance against one of the top featherweights in the country.
I gotta watch it, you never know what might stop you. Here I